Britches. Oh my god, you're way over there. Oh, hi. My microphone was way away from me. What the fuck is up, my Britches? Happy Tuesday. Should we call it Tipsy Tuesday? I forgot to put my ring on. I love this time of year though because you can at least see that I'm still married. Let me put you onto these Jack Daniels little cocktails. Oh, bitch. You know what this reminds me of? Like Sex on the Beach. It's like Sex on the Beach meets Hawaiian Punch. Anywho, what's happening, my britches? Tonight we are going to play with the new Supreme Bronze. I'm going to do swatches. I'm going to do comparisons. I especially am going to be comparing it to the OG. Okay? Anybody can come for me with this statement right now. I feel like I was the one that put like everybody on this palette. I feel like nobody was talking about it. And then all of a sudden everybody was. It's almost like when you hear a song for the first time before everybody else and you're like, wait, I knew about that before everybody. That's how I feel about the Artist Couture Supreme News. So since I love this palette so much, I have been on the hunt with these damn Artist Couture palettes. I've tried the Caliente, Ethereal Bloom. These ones are not my favorite. If anything, these are some of the worst palettes in my collection. And then I also have the Club Daddy, which this one was not terrible. This was actually, there was only one dud for me in this palette, and that was this shade right here. But I got this for like collector purposes because this will like forever remind me of quarantine/2020. Because I used to look forward to Club Daddy every single Friday on Instagram. So that was the collaboration with Static John. And I'm like, all right, Artist Couture is losing me a little bit with these palettes. Because they were just like it was Caliente, then Club Daddy, and then Ethereal Bloom. This one was probably the worst one for me. So then I'm like, oh shit. They're bringing back this. They're bringing back this packaging. Like, the packaging is all relatively the same, but it's a combination of the packaging, having this amount of eyeshadows, the fucking color story of it all. I'm just like, oh, Artist Couture, Mac Daddy's trying to bring me back. So I'm gonna do some eye looks with this. I want to do some swatch comparisons and let you guys know my thoughts, because I did use this. If you saw yesterday, I was wearing this in our new makeup releases, which we come back every single Monday. Let me show you in case you missed it. I am wearing this palette in yesterday's video. I'm a fucking mess. I don't know why you guys watch my videos. So I just basically, I want to sit down, I want to chit chat, and I just want to see what you guys think of it. Oh shit! Deandra, did you ship my order yet? I cannot wait to get my new Divina Shadows. So let's just get playing with this. We're going to do comparisons. I pulled out, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I have 9 or 10 palettes that I'm going to do like quick comparisons to. There's one in particular that I think is really close. Like, it reminds me a lot of it. And then there's one I actually put together with my single shadows as well. So we're going to get into it today. So before we get started, I know we've been talking for 4 minutes already and literally nothing yet. Give it a thumbs up, share it out, subscribe if you're new, and let's just cut the bullshit and let's just start playing with this, shall we? I'm going to use a lot of my Refer brushes because they're my favorites for my eye brushes. I'll tell you guys the brushes that I'm wearing. I'll link everything after the fact. You get it. I'll specify also which brushes I'm using. So the main ones that I use are my Refer 13, my Refer 14. Those are my bitches. Where's my 14? These two right here. We have orders coming out the ear, still shipping right now. Girl, I can only imagine how fucking busy you are. It's fine. I'm not worried. I'm so happy for you guys, though. I'm over here like, it's so awesome to see indie doing so insanely well. Christy, I thought you were coming for me really quick with my pronunciation. So I'm going to try to use the shades that I didn't use yesterday. So yesterday I was wearing Glisten all over the lids, Taupeless, and Toasty. So I only used 3 shades for that eye look you saw yesterday. And Sand. I used this on my inner corner. Use your code the other day for Davina? Yes! Thank you so much, guys, for using my code. So I'm going to first start with... Where's my refer number 2? Because that is, like, my side piece when it comes to my eyeshadow brushes. Oh, Holly says, this is the video I have been needing. I've seen quite a few videos on this palette already. But I'm a basic bitch. I love these basic ass color stories. They give me life. So I'm here for it. All right, I'm going to take the shade Baked, which is in the corner, this one right here. I think I'm going to work a lot with the like goldish, yellow, orangey tones today because I want to look bronze. So I'm going to take my refer number 2. This is so difficult doing eye looks live. Let me readjust. Let me move my drink. Move my mirror. Not knock over my microphone. Here we go. Now, I will say, with the shadows that I used yesterday, I honestly feel like I remember Supreme Nudes being smoother to the touch when I first used it for the first time, but we're also thinking back to like a year from now. So, initially, I haven't swatched any of these on their own yet. I just basically used it yesterday and then that was it. But as far as, like, application goes, I'm like, okay, I could totally guess that this was, like, an Artist Couture palette because it's very easy to use. I'm just going to do the same look, and I'm just going to try to use a lot of the same type of shadows just so you guys can get the whole effect when we finish. So I'm just basically pressing this right into my fake crease. Since I do have hooded eyes, I just go a little bit higher. But it's like the pigmentation's there. I'm not really blending right now. I'm just placing, and then I'll actually blend with the next eyeshadow that I do. And if you're ever wondering how I do my looks majority of the time, this is it. This is the tea that you've all been probably wondering about. Probably not, because I do it the same way every single time. Let me take the shade Sunkissed. This shade just fucking speaks to me. It's so beautiful. It's just like... I think of Makeup Geek Morocco when I see this because it's just like the perfect like brick warm orange, and then just using this to blend out the crease is going to be just pure perfection. I already know it. Like this formula, his matte formula is typically very good, especially when it comes to his neutrals. I think this is classified as a pressed pigment palette. Supreme Bronze, Eyeshadow, and Pressed Pigment Palette. So it's got all the ingredients on the back. This is a sticker. You guys know how I feel about stickers. Cruelty-free, vegan, 12-month shelf life, bulk made in the USA, assembled in Dominican. We just got a lot of ingredients on here. Net weight is 12 times 1.4 grams or 0.04 ounces. So I think this is the same as... the original Supreme... No, I actually think it's a little bit less. Hold on. This retails for $42. 1.4 grams. Oh, no, it is the same. Or wait. The ounces is different. So in the original... No, this is bronze. In the original, you get 0.5 ounces per pan. But in the Supreme Bronze, you get 0.04. Am I saying that correctly? 0.05 in the original. 0.04. So by ounces, it's less, technically. But sometimes that is, like, the formula that makes it that way. Like, sometimes it doesn't weigh as much, but the pan sizes look the same. I'm not going to read too much into that. I'm just looking at it like it looks the fucking same. So we'll call it a day. I have seen that that argument previously. I can't remember what palette it was, but I just remember that being, like, a thing where it was like, oh, the weight of... like, the shadow was just different. I think it was a Natasha Denona moment. I feel like that is accurate. Let's see. Oh my god, Sunkissed, right? This is just a beautiful Sunkissed orange. Like, one of my favorite types of eyeshadows. And I feel like it fits so well with this color story, especially for, like, a Sunkissed moment. Because tell me that is not like, holy shit, Sunkissed. And it's blending so nicely. I do go very high, like really close to my brow bone. It won't stay that harsh, but I do take it usually a little bit higher just because when I open my eyes, I want to see all the beautiful eyeshadows. So you see how orangey and pigmented? The pigmentation is definitely there. This one applied a little bit different. I like how this side looks. I think I just took it a little too high on this side, but it's fine. Angelica says it was Charlotte Tilbury. I feel like it happened with Natasha too, but I could be wrong. You're probably right. I can't keep up with all these fucking problematic launches. Isn't it crazy? It's like nothing can launch now without it being problematic or offensive or something. It's just like, can these brands just get it together yet? I can't. All right, so I'm going to take the shade Shady. This is just like the matte black. I'm going to take this on an Esom T05. I want to do something I'll probably regret, just because I very rarely do wings, especially live, because I feel like I'm horrible at it. But I want to do like a smoky wing moment. Definitely pigmented. Be mindful. She pigmented. Granted, I am using a more like precise, dense type of brush. But it's like, it's okay if it gets a little bit messy, because we're just going to smoke it out anyways. I'm just going to apply a little bit. Not too much. Not on too much of the eye either. I could hear Evan talking so loudly. You could totally tell that he is our child, because we are such a loud group of people. Our voices just like carry throughout the whole entire house. This is why I don't do wings right here, because they're never the same. And my eyes always look lopsided. Especially when I'm live. I'm like, this is going to be a tragic hot mess. But you know what? Fake it till you make it, baby. You don't get better unless you try. And this is one nice thing about doing like your complexion first, is you can just kind of like smear it and it'll look like you did it on purpose. Hack! The hack nobody asked for. I mean, one of these types of brushes probably would have been better, like an angled, like super thin brush, but that was the first one I saw. Ain't nobody got time. All right, let me take now my refer number 13. Oh, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Mo Makeup Mo Beauty is here. I just saw Linda's here. Finnies. Brit, you're loud? No. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to take the shade Baked. This shade right here. And I'm going to use that to just kind of blend and set this. Not anything precise, because I don't want it to be like neat, but I want it to look a little smoky. Yes. I didn't want like a crazy wing, just like a little something something. And that is working perfectly for what I wanted. Because it's like, I want to see like the dimension, but I don't want it to look like I cut a bitch, you know? And it didn't take me too long. Just like a little quarter of a wing is how I would classify that one. This is definitely like, just with using these shades that I've used already, this formula is like the Supreme Nudes. It's not how these tragic other palettes are that he's done, like Caliente. I'm not going to trash on Club Daddy, because I did like that color story and I did like that formula, but I'm like, it just hasn't been the same since Supreme Nudes, and I feel like we're back. I feel like this one is giving me Supreme Nudes vibes, which I'm happy about. All right, so I'm going to leave that as it is, and then I'm going to take my Refer. I've been loving this brush. It's the Refer number 28. It reminds me so much of the MAC 242. You guys remember this one? It is so fucking similar. It's a little bit thicker, but it serves its purpose. And the Esom W23, those are my favorite ones. I'm going to take, I think I'm going to use both of these shades today. I'm going to take Gilded first and then Soleil second. I'm going to put Gilded towards like the middle of my eye and then Soleil on the inner part of my eye. Oh my god, these shades, I saw Karen wearing this. She did her video, I think, yesterday or the day before, but her, like, these shades on a darker skin tone is fucking everything. It's so pretty, and it's like, for how, I don't want to say this palette looks similar to the Supreme Nudes, because really it doesn't. Like, it's such a different vibe, but it's like, oh man, if Supreme Nudes was not appealing to you, this one may call your name more so. Like, it just looks like fire, don't it? Ugh. I'm so here for it. And this is so up my alley for spring, summer, especially summer. Yes. Oh, bitch. Oh, bitch. How do I lift my brow like that? I think I'm going to end up, like, I'm going to definitely have wrinkles eventually. I'm blessed with good genetics, I think. Let me take Soleil and be mindful. I have not wet these either. Oh my god. Oh, that wet? Oh, bitch. That would be so intense. I wasn't ready for that. Holy shit. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And then I'm just going to blend it over these two. Tell me that is not like a sunset on my eyeballs right now. I can't. And how, listen, I always tell you guys, I hate doing my eyes live because I feel like my looks always come out looking like shit. I ain't mad at this right now. Put lashes on this bitch and it's going to be fire. This is a sunset. Or a sunrise. I'm shook. I'm fucking shook right now. Alright, let me go back to Gilded. Because I lost that more, like, deep gold. Let's put this arm down. I'm going to drink to that. Damn. Venice. Don't you start with me. We had the inappropriate jokes going last night. I was living. Right, guys? This is fucking gorgeous. All right, I gotta do it. I'm not going to do it on my eye because I don't want to fuck this up right now. I'm going to take... This picks up on this brush so nicely. This is not going to do it justice. Okay, so you saw how it applied, like, from a brush to my eye, right? That's it dry. Now I want to do it wet. Just to see, because I have a really strong feeling that this shine is going to be so beautiful. Let's see if it makes a difference at all, though. I have the worst spray for this right now. Let me grab my Gerard Cosmetics, and I'll do that one, because I had the Cover FX, and it comes out so fine. Let me do... Alright, that's better. So this is wet. I mean, they still look super shiny and reflective. It's a little... Obviously, it's going to be more intense when it's wet. But that... Oh, I'm shook that these are not wet. Bitch, fuck me up! Okay, let's keep it moving, shall we? Let's go to the lower lash line, and let's cover up these under eye baggies. I'm going to first take Shady, which is the matte black. Apply just a little bit to that outer corner, because this is pigmented, and I don't want the black to overtake the look. I want it to be very subtle, wearable. I say wearable in like air quotes, because you could wear whatever the fuck you want. Don't let me tell you what to do. And then let me take my Sonia G, my Worker Pro. This is such a good brush, guys. And then I'm going to take Baked, which is that like chocolatey brown. And just blend this. This is how I set my under eyes most of the time, because my eye wrinkles are right where my brush is right now. So I like to pull my shadows over it. So I don't have like a ton of loose powder under my eyes, because sometimes when I set my under eyes with loose powder like heavily, it looks even worse. So I find that when I use my shadows for this purpose, it looks like it's supposed to be like that, you know? Drip, drip. Drip, drip, swoosh. Yes! Christy, she's nailing it for me right now. Nailing it. I know, I was supposed to have tomorrow off, and I have to work tomorrow. I'm not thrilled about that. I'm like, can I just live? Can't I just be a bar owner yet? Come on. Have y'all tried those Jack Daniels drinks, though? They're fucking fire. And you can get them at, like, the supermarket. Because they're technically, like, a malt beverage, so they're not super strong, but... I leaked on myself. Got a hole in my lip. So good. Oh, so good. Those are so bomb. And they don't taste like Jack Daniels because I'm not the biggest fan of Jack. Cheryl, I make you want to buy all the makeup? Don't feel like you need to buy all of it. It's like, if it's a palette that speaks to you or a product that speaks to you, remember it. Remember it. You know, throw it in the DMs of your man, woman, your significant other. Hey, just like because it's Tuesday, I deserve this. Why not? All right, let's go with the inner corner. So for me, I'm going to use the same one. I'm going to use sand because this is like a perfect inner corner. I'll do swatches at the end for you guys when I'm done with the eye look. So I'm going to take my Refer number 3. Have you guys gotten Refer brushes yet? Because these are bomb. I still love BK Beauty brushes, but eye brushes, Refer slays it. They fucking slay it. And this shade, I think, is so pretty because it looks like your typical, like, inner corner type highlight, but it has the slightest sheen to it, and it looks so beautiful. Like, it has, like, a pink reflect to it. It's so pretty. I love. Wow, I just noticed something that just tripped me out. So, I'm a big fan of Makeup Geek shadows. I feel like most of you watching probably know this. One of my absolute favorite shades from Makeup Geek was, I think it was called Mirage. And it was just like a bone colored, like, highlighter type shade. Right? Tell me why this shade looks exactly the same and it's called Mirage. I feel like that's destiny. I was destined to have this. So you could either use, if you want more of like a shiny reflect like I have, you could go with this one. Or if you want just like a matte brightening, you can go with this shade here. I'm shook. Like, when I used this yesterday, I was like, all right, it's nice. I wasn't losing my shit because of how quickly I had to do my makeup. But here's my thing, and I say this to you guys all the time. I'm like, people always compliment my eyes whenever I wear, like, the most basic shit. So yesterday, I literally just threw, like, Taupless in the crease. I put Toasty in the outer corner. I slapped that all over my lids. It took me, like, 5 minutes. And everybody said how beautiful the eye looked yesterday. And I'm like, it was literally so easy. So that's where it's like palettes like these, they come through so nicely in instances like that. Because it's like, Artist Couture for me, they have that very like natural, everyday sort of a vibe, but more glamorous. Like, you get more of a sparkle. And I was actually listening to Kelly from K Bella Beauty. She actually featured the Supreme Nudes in her, like, Sephora rankings because she picked it up during the last Sephora VIB sale because I've been, like, borderline threatening her that she needs to get it because it's so good. So she was saying her thoughts on the Supreme Nudes, and I'm like, wow, she's so right because it is, like, a neutral palette, but it has the most beautiful sparkle effects. Like, I feel like right now this looks beautiful. But if you were to see this look in sunlight, you'd be like, oh, bitch, fuck me up. Because when the light hits these shadows, it just, like, takes it to another level. It's so beautiful. Like, his metallics are some of my favorites when they're done correctly. And I feel like this palette, I'm just like, oh, yeah, okay. Okay, Mac Daddy, you back, baby. And I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled about that because... man, were those other palettes a letdown. Full stop. Let down. I'm going to throw some lashes on to complete this look, and then we'll get into some swatches. But do you guys have, before we get into swatches and stuff, do you have questions about the palette? Literally anything. Or we could just sit and jibber jabber while I slap on some lashes, because I just feel like the lashes are going to take it there, and that's what I'm trying to give you right now. Mo, you guys go to Sephora? I would love to see this, though, on you guys. Oh, it would look so pretty. Like, why can't Tom Ford give us something like this on a Tuesday, right? I can't get enough of that Tom Ford Tuesday. Tom Ford Tuesday. I live. Let's see. Mrs. Unnecessary. Brit is like the makeup godfather. She's going to make you an offer you can't refuse. I don't know what you're talking about. I do none of those things. I am innocent and I am lovely. How dare you guys say those things about me? I'm being personally attacked in my own live chats. Listen. Josephine says jibber jabber. Are they good for Cleona formula? Listen, Cleona's on like another level. Cleona is on their own level. Same with Divina. Like, no one compares to their formulas. This is, like, the best way to explain this is if you've touched Supreme Nudes, very similar. Like, I could easily associate these two with each other just based off how much I've used this. The only shadow I think that's going to be different is, like, the shade Opulence, which is the fave. This shade is, like, the eyeshadow that's in Charlotte Tilbury Fire Rose. You know the one I'm talking about? The metallic that we all lost our shit over. There's something so special about this, and I don't know if this palette has it. I think the shade HBIC, which is second row next to the lightest shade, I think that may have more of a texture similar to this, but I also don't think it does. I keep thinking I say your name wrong. Zana. She asked if I could compare it to Charlotte Tilbury, Natasha Denona, the bronze. I don't have that palette, but I have other palettes that I'm going to show next to it, just so you guys can kind of see some other comparisons. But it's going to be one of those palettes, it's like, do you need this? Probably not. Because there's so many neutral palettes, there's so many warm tone palettes. It's going to be one of those things that it's like, if it speaks to you, it's the same bullshit I say to you guys every single time. I don't ever want you guys to feel like you have to run out and buy another eyeshadow palette, because there is honestly so much overlap throughout palettes, but it's just, if you're a person like me that just wants to have them all, and if you just wonder, like, is the formula good? Is it going to perform? Like, just be mindful. I haven't worn these, like, long term or anything right now. But it's like I'm still so shook at those metallics. The fact that those are dry and they applied like that, so beautiful. And that brush, that's what made it like so crispy without even having to put down an eye base or anything. And then if you're wondering, the lashes, they're the Kiss 11s as per usual. They're like the fucking only lashes I feel like I ever wear. I need to get more of the bold face lashes though. The Style Lashes for Days, they were some of my favorite. Refer 1, 13, and 14 are my faves. They're so good for me. They're the goats. They're the best eye brushes I own and have ever owned for my eye shape. If I had to pick one out of all of them, I would pick the 13. It's just perfect. Perfection. Could not have been done any better. I want to say there's new brushes. I have a Refer affiliate always in the description box. If you click on that link and check the concept store, I think there's new brushes in there. And the new eyelash curler is fucking bomb from Refer. I don't always curl my lashes, but when I do, that's the one I use now, because it's like Shiseido quality, but better. It's always this inner corner, and I'm trying not to get my eyes to water. But I want you guys to have the full effect with the lashes. Like, it just makes such a difference. I'm going to let these dry just a tad bit, and then I'm going to squeeze them. This is what I've been doing. I've been applying my lashes and then taking my Refer lash curler, and I would just get my whole lash in there and just gently squeeze everything together. Usually it does stick like it is right now, but I try to pull it away and not pull anything off, but just to get the lashes to just blend just a little bit better. But you don't want to squeeze like too hard. I just try to gently just like bounce it. That way they just kind of form to the lashes. Sometimes I fuck myself doing that and the inner corners come up, but most of the time I'm like, it's good enough. And that's how I feel. Oh my god. Did you see Beauty and the Beast princess thing coming? Yes, I did. Girl, I got so many tags on that yesterday. We talked about that in new makeup releases yesterday, and I about lost my shit. I'm so excited that Besame did that for me. Please believe I'm going to try my damnedest to get it because it looks gorgina. All right, let me wipe my hand off really quick, and then we'll do some swatches. Have you guys watched any other videos on this palette yet? I feel like I've seen quite a few come up already, but I haven't watched any yet. Just because I'm like, I don't like to ruin it for myself, but I did see Karen's eye look, and I'm just like, I feel like this is kind of like what she did, because hers, it looked kind of like a similar vibe. But I was just like, oh my god, it looks so good on her and her tan skin. Yes, I think I saw Patty Alonso did a video as well. Alright, so there's, let me give you guys a zoom before we do swatches, just so you can see really quick. Are you fucking kidding me? Honestly. That is not bad for me for a live makeup look. I'm just saying. Alright, let's get into some swatches. Oh, Vanessa, I was waiting for you, sis. I feel so honored. Thank you. Alright, let's do some swatches of first Supreme Bronze. So I'll go top row, middle row, bottom. Mirage. Taupeless. Glisten. Glisten's a little bit of a stiffer formula, so this is row number 1. Glisten is one of those eyeshadows, though. Like, this shade, it always gets me. There's just something so beautiful about a taupey, glittery eyeshadow. If I see these swatches next to each other, I'm like, wait, is that Melt Mary Jane? Which I did pull that palette out. It's not going to be the same, but it's like, if you like the way that this looks and you have Mary Jane, you don't need this palette. Just because it's so similar. Like, as far as, like, the textures, I think these are very, very smooth. Like, the mattes are very smooth. Glisten is a little bit more stiff, in my opinion. And then the black is a little, like, you touch it and you're like, it feels like it's going to be a hot mess. Because it's kind of powdery, but it obviously worked perfectly fine for me today. So it's like, it's one of those shadows that just makes you be like, wait, is this going to, like, totally fuck me over right now? Work, I would say, very lightly with the black because of how pigmented it is. Now we're in the second row. We have Sand, HBIC, Gilded, and Tantalize, which these are all going to be like metallics, and bitch, fuck me up. This is my shit. I love this color story right here. So that's the inner corner today. This is still very much like Melt Mary Jane. And then it's like, oh, but we're going to add a little bit more warmth. I even think that would be like Melt Mary Jane. Like, that's exactly what I think of with that right there. And then we get into the golds. So that's the one that's on the middle part of my eye. And then Tantalize, this one is not on my eyes today, but it's just like a beautiful bronze. Oh my god. That's so pretty. So pretty. Okay, I'm going to do the other shades. I'll probably swatch them down here just so it's not over my tattoo so you could actually see what the shades look like, you know what I'm saying? Oh my god, so pretty. So then we have Sunkissed, Toasty. Sunkissed has that like gritty texture to it. I wonder if that's like a pressed pigment technically. Then we have Soleil and Baked. Baked also has that like more, Baked is this one, has like a gritty sort of a texture to it. That doesn't really turn me off anymore, though, because I always feel like some of my favorite eyeshadows have that formula. But this eyeshadow right here, it reminds me of a shade that's in the Caliente that was literally, like, my favorite eyeshadow I've probably ever touched. So these are all the swatches from this palette. And I'm here for it. You know what? Let me pull this out really quick, because this is really giving me, like, Caliente vibes, like, with this row right here. And just with how disappointed I was with this, because I had such high expectations for it. First, this packaging could not have been more beautiful. This is what the inner part of the packaging looks like. These were the only two shades that I liked in this collection. And I feel like I just redeemed them with this shade here and this shade here. Or no, actually this one. Probably this shade and this one. Let me swatch them just so we can do like little comparisons. So I'm talking about Margarita and Sensual. Actually, you know what? Sunkissed, that orangey tone. Let's do swatch comparisons here. So this is Margarita, right? Did I say that right? Yes. And then we have Sensual is down here. See how, like, look at the swatch comparisons right there. Tragic. This formula is just caca. Caca. Now let me do Sunkissed from the bronze, which is the more like orangey tone. Oh yeah, that's so much better. It's so much more smooth than the Caliente. The swatch comparisons, they're not like anything pleasant. I feel like mattes usually don't swatch the best. But as far as like how it feels, it just feels so much prettier. But with the Caliente, I feel like Sensual is a little bit more brown, whereas Sunkissed is more orange. But when you swatch them, they do look kind of similar. Not exact, but close. And then let me swatch Gilded and Soleil. So beautiful. I was thinking Gilded, but they're still different enough, but it's like, now that I, like, if you contemplated this and then you saw my review and were like, nope, don't want that anymore, this one should catch your attention because it's like, it kind of gives me like similar vibes. So I'm happy about that. Very happy. But now I'm at the point, I'm like, fuck, I wish that the bronze had like this packaging because I love that like ombre aesthetic. It's so pretty. So let's take away, I'm going to keep these, I think, and let's take away the Caliente. And then I'll start with, some of them I'm just going to hold up and compare just so you guys could kind of see, just if you wanted to see the color story side by side. There's only probably a couple that I'll actually swatch because they're actually similar, if that makes sense. So this one I'm going to save till the end. I pulled out first because I'm like, all right, let's think of all the bronzy moments that I have. So I initially was like, Natasha Denona bronze. I don't have that one. So then I'm like, ooh, NARS, the Summer Solstice, because this is very much like a bronze goddess type of eyeshadow palette. I think that there is some overlap, like very little though. You get more variety with this one because I think it's a perfect mixture of warmth and coolness, whereas this, you're getting only warmth. So it's like, okay, what's your vibe? I don't feel like these are two that need to be compared side by side because there's not much overlap within the shades. It's just like a bronzy moment is the only similarity I feel that these two have. This packaging is so fucking good. So then that was the first one I thought of. And then I have this Nabla side by side palette, and I don't think this one is similar with the bronze aspect. I think this is more similar with the cool tone aspect, which some of the shades are kind of similar, but I see more like maroon bases with this one. But I think if you had side by side, you probably wouldn't need both. You know what I'm saying? But I do feel like you get more like warmth with this one versus this one, you get more coolness. So that was just when I'm like, okay, maybe, but not really. And then I keep mentioning this palette, so I'm just going to pull it out. Mary Jane. We talked about this already. I feel like that first row on top until you get to the gold shade, if you like the way that that looks and you want something that is only cool tone, this could be where you live. Same thing with the Natasha Denona Glam. I didn't feel like I needed to pull them both out. But this has more of a similar, I think, like, I don't know, because there's something so particular about the Artist Couture formula that it's like when that light hits it, though. And I feel like Melt has that, especially with some of these shadows. But, like, the two end shades in this palette, I don't like this formula for the end shades. But these, like, Sweet Lucy, Bamba, Santa Maria, and Bow, those formulas to me are so pretty because they're a lot smoother. They're not so chunky. They remind me of maybe like a looser packed version of the Artist Couture. I think that these I like because they feel more secure because they are more like densely packed shadows. And they just have that like beautiful, like I know you see that like sparkle. It's so, so pretty. Mrs. Unnecessary asked, which would you choose if you had neither? Give me like a selection to choose from. That'll make it easier just because I'm not sure which one you're referring to now because I got too far ahead of myself. Then I was like, all right, I know people love Natasha Denona. I don't have the bronze, and I didn't buy the bronze because I have Metropolis. So I'm like, okay, let's put these next to each other. I feel like if you're going for the bronzy moment, I mean, both Gorgina. Love both of these palettes. But I don't think you need both. But I still feel like you get more variety as far as warmth and coolness having this. This, you get the greens, the blues. You don't really get much coolness, though, with this one. Like, cool neutrals. This one's more, like, colorful. So I feel like the vibes are overall pretty different. But you see, like, wait, I'm backwards. See, like, the orange similarities. Like, there's some neutrals in here, but you don't have the black. You have, like, the blues and greens. You don't have the grays. You've got just a totally different type of vibe, but I feel like this one is probably worthwhile to swatch because I feel like this was like the most popular Natasha Denona. So I'm going to see what kind of overlap we have between these palettes. So I'm going to first I'll swatch this shade right here because I want to see how this looks compared to like this shade right here. I just got that up with my wrong finger. Come on, Brittany, you got to do it with your opposite hand. So I'm going to do that one first. This is where it's going to be like, all right, it's not similar to that top shade, but it's similar to, wow, backwards. It's similar to this shade right here. But it doesn't have that like pinky reflect that the Artist Couture does. So it's like, it's similar on the eyes. You might not notice a huge difference, but there are similarities there. Then you've got like your neutral colors. I feel like this shade, these two shades are a little bit more warm. So I'm going to swatch this like taupey looking brown. Let me tell you what though, the formulas on these are so different. But I see more depth with this palette. This is like a cool tone, deeper brown. Whereas this one has more warmth to it. So kind of similar, but not really. And then as far as like this like taupey shade, there's nothing in the Metropolis like that. There's nothing black in the Metropolis. This one we already compared to. So this next one is more of like a bronzy metallic. I feel though like, I don't know, it's like the more that I use Natasha Denona, I don't feel like hers packs a huge punch, but they're still so beautiful. But this is more cool tone than this one here. This one has more of the bronzy vibe to it. I feel like the bronzy tones in Metropolis are more like matte. They're not like this type of formula. They're the more matte. So then I'll get into another like more bronze and then the gold. There's so many golds in this palette. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are like goldish copperish. So I'm gonna do the one that I think is the closest, and it's this one right here. I feel like this is probably the closest to what's in the Artist Couture, but this has more of that texture to it. This, oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, but so different. Like, totally different vibe. Let me take one that's more of like a coppery tone. I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to take this one right here, or even maybe this one. I think that first one, though, is closer. This is going to be more of like a satin formula, though, versus like a more metallic, but that's still beautiful. So I'm comparing both the ones that are on the bottom. This one has more red, I think. More of like a brick tone, whereas this is more like peachy orange. Coral? Maybe that's the right word for it. I can't with myself. Now I'll do this like matte. I keep thinking like Morocco Makeup Geek. That's the one that instantly comes to mind. So that one I'm like, okay, that's probably really close. I feel like these are close, but I wouldn't say that they're like I wouldn't say like if you have Metropolis you don't need like, okay, let me put it this way. You don't need any palettes. But if you're like, oh, but I have Metropolis, I don't know if I should get the Artist Couture, I'd be like, nah, you're good. Like, you could get away with having both, in my opinion. So I'm like, as far as everything else goes, I'm just like, it's close, but it's not really. I also wanted to pull out, oh my god, there's so many palettes I wanted to compare to, but I'm like, I feel like bronzy tones is like my shit. So this is the Scott Barnes, the Natural palette. Still a lot of differences between them. If anything, I think this palette reminds me of like the Nabla Side by Side. So I wouldn't even say like these are close because I'm seeing, again, a lot of like the maroon tones. But it's these textures. I cannot wait for him to launch more shit because the texture of his eyeshadows is phenomenal, but I'm like, no. And then I also pulled out the Colored Rain, Queen of Hearts. Remember this one? What really called my name was Empress. And then you've got Your Majesty, you've got Royal Highness. Like, you have a very similar, like, aesthetic, I feel, with these, but they're still not the same. I feel like Mac Daddy nailed it with giving you warmth and coolness, but still giving you, like, so much option, having those golds in there and having those, like, coppery tones. I just feel like he did this palette so nicely. So Queen of Hearts, I'm just like, it's not the same. It's got, like, some notes of similarities, but not really. Same with the Tati Beauty palette. This is not my favorite formula whatsoever. But I'm like, you've got, it's the orange, it's the neutrals, you got the black, you got the browns, you got some texture differences, but overall, not the same. Like, the formulas are completely different. So where I'm over here, like, okay, we've got all these ones that kind of give, like, similar vibes, right? But then I came across one that you guys actually requested in my community tab. The Vive Essentials palette. This is, to me, the closest out of all of them. This would be the palette I'm like, okay, if you already had this, you don't need this. But there is a big differences in textures. But I will be honest, I do prefer the textures of, how do I want to say this? I prefer the mattes of Vive, but I think the effect of these metallics. So it's like mixing these two together is literally like pure perfection. But that's where I would be like, okay, no, you don't need it. Just because so similar, right? Right? They are sisters for realsies. So I want to do some swatches of this one just because of how similar they are. So let's do, first row, we've got So Shy. This is just like that matte vanilla. Like, do not sleep on Vive, guys. I know they got their bronzer duos launching, which I didn't realize that they were duos. I'm so excited. Their products are so consistent and so beautiful. I still really love the texture of Vive, like as far as their metallics go. They're just different. They're not anything similar, I don't think, that I've tried. Because it's like they have actual texture to them. And they sparkle. And they just look so different. I don't know. There's something so special about them. It's hard to explain, but it's like, I know what I'm trying to say. Like, even when you look at the swatch, you're like, there's just something different about them. So they do apply a little bit more chunky. So that's one thing to be mindful about. You may not like that. They are a little bit flaky. But when you apply them to your eyes, though, they're just like, oh my god, they look so nice. But the Vive mattes are so perfect. Like, they're so, so nice. So then I'm on the bottom row now. We've got Glimmer, which would be like pop and inner corner highlight. Holy shit. Let's do that one right. So pretty. Love that one. This is one of my favorite shades, Chow. It's just like the most beautiful, like mustard yellow. So good. I love that for the crease. And then you have Cozy, which this kind of gives like similar vibes to Sunkissed, but it's more like subtle and peachy, whereas Sunkissed is more like hot, fiery orange. So it's like they're still different, but they're both so pretty. And then you have Delicious, and then you have Good Night. So these are just both mattes. Both fantastic eyeshadows. So it's like looking at these side by side, similar, but still not the same. But that's where I'd be like, guys, calm your tits. You don't need both. Okay? If I were to pick between these two, That's real hard. That's real fucking hard because it's like I'm so biased towards Vive because I think their products are fantastic. If I'm judging, let's do the overall judge, okay? I love the packaging on both of these. My aesthetic, I like this. But as far as like it looking more like bougie and feeling more bougie, I do like this as well though. So I'm like, oh, but this is going to be really hard. Really, really hard. I think they're both like the same price point. You know what? I'm going to say fuck it. I'd go with Artist Couture. You know why? Because you get more eyeshadows. That's it. Right? I'm pretty sure you get... Or no, is it the same amount? No, you get 10 eyeshadows with Vive. You get 12 with Artist Couture. Fuck, man. I'm even like, which one would I pick? I think I would say Artist Couture because you get more shades and it's very similar vibe. But man, like the Vive formula though is so fucking bomb. Let me ponder this for a second. You guys pick. You pick for me. I feel like I like the undertones, though, of these shadows. Like, the mattes, I think they mastered the mattes there. I don't know. I don't know if I could pick. The Vive packaging is just luxury personified to me. I do feel like this gives me, like, the vibe of luxury. It gives me the essence of expensive. But it's like, in real life, I'm just like... Does it feel expensive, though, just because it's, like, cardboard, you know? Whereas with like, I don't know, it's just, like, this, to me, just, like, in my mind. But I do like the overall aesthetic of this. Just because it's very sleek. It's, like, sleek, sophisticated, sexy. I'm having a hard time. I'm, like, because there's things that I love about this, but then there's things that I also love about the Artist Couture. You guys tell me which one you would pick between these two. I'm very curious now because I'm like, I think where your deciding factor is going to be is if you're going to like this more flaky texture with their metallics, because you're not going to get that with Artist Couture. It's way more like smooth, but it's more glittery. So I think with Vive, this is more like work appropriate, day to day, essential, you know? Whereas the Artist Couture, it's going to give you that more like pop, little bit more, tried a little bit harder, a little bit more smoky. It's a little bit deeper as well. I'd pick both. Fuck it. I bought them both. Let me live. And then the last one I put together, this is like my own little customized palette. So one more for the show. Oh, Vive is so fucking good. I can't wait for those bronzers. So, like I said earlier, y'all know I love me some Makeup Geek, right? So I'm like, all right, let's see if I had this palette already in my collection. So, I didn't have this entirely with Makeup Geek, but we were close. We were close, and these shades are very, very similar, at least to my eyeballs they were. So let me do swatches when this dries down a little bit. I'm going to take a sip in the meantime. By the way, guys, there's 134 of you watching and only 85 thumbs ups. That's a problem. Oh my god, that really is like Sex on the Beach meets Hawaiian Punch. So good. Okay. I'm going to tell you the shades that I picked out. So in the event that you have your Makeup Geek eyeshadows with you, you know the ones that I'm talking about. First one is Banana Split. This is just like a matte. It's just like a matte, flat, not white, but like a bone with like a hint of banana. That was creamy, damn. So those are very, very similar up on top. And then I have the shade Espresso Yourself. This is going to be a more cool toned, like espresso brown, if you will. Espresso Yourself. That's number 2. Makeup Geek and Vive mattes remind me a lot of each other. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that. Then I've got one of their foiled shadows next. I've got the shade Grandstand, one of the most beautiful. Makeup Geek, can you notice me? Listen, this is where Makeup Geek slays the game, is their fucking metallics. Their foiled shadows are mic drop. Did you see that? So it's like, alright, they're not the same, but it's close enough. Like, Makeup Geek doesn't have, like, the gold tones. They don't really have the cool tones. I really hope that they get those together. Like, I'm saying in their, like, foiled line. So then we have the black. What's this even called? Corrupt. Just your typical matte black. That's not an impressive swatch, but I assure you that's one of the best blacks in my collection. And then I've got another foiled shadow, which is Starry Eyed. This is my most used foiled shadow. Please keep in mind, like, when I say most used, you look at that, you're like, bitch, you don't use it. I already destroyed, like, one of my sets of Makeup Geek palettes, remember? Then I bought them all again. That's how much I love them. So, again, like, I feel like Grandstand kind of throws off the vibe, but it's like, if you're just looking at the mattes, they're, like, identical, right? So then, the next shade, which is the gold, there's nothing in Makeup Geek's line that's like that. So that one I had to skip over. I mean, there's, like, a matte yellow. This is one of their pigments in the shade Potential, but I'm like, it's not at all going to give you what the Artist Couture does. And then I have the shade Legend, which is a more... I don't want to explain this one. It's almost like a metallic bronze, I guess it would be the best way I would explain it. Look, see how beautiful their metallics are, though? Like, so shiny, reflective, just goodness. And then we've got this, like, beautiful copper flamethrower. This is unnecessary. Does she do her lives every week now? This is flamethrower. Makeup Geek is just so slept on. I don't care what anybody says. They still have the best fucking eyeshadows. And then this is the Morocco shade that I keep mentioning. This actually reminds me more of the shade that's in the Vive palette because of its undertone. It's more like coral, whereas this is more like hot orange, like I said earlier. That's like similar to, yeah, that Vive shade. And then we have Tiki Hut, which is... It's almost like a caramely looking brown. Oh, wait, this side. But kind of similar. I think Artist Couture is like a little bit more red, but close enough. And then I think another shade I was missing, and then the last one I had was Chocolate Wasted. Oh, she hasn't been doing them? Yeah, Sabrina, she knows what it is. Makeup Geek is fucking bop. And like swatching these again, I'm like, Makeup Geek slays the game. But you also, like, I have all these because I purchased the entire Matrix system. Like, I have every single Makeup Geek eyeshadow. That's how much I love Makeup Geek. If they had, like, that gold shade and this gold shade, I wouldn't need to buy that palette. I probably wouldn't need to buy any palette. I can't wait to see what else Makeup Geek does just because I'm like, oh, they're so good and they're so consistent. I can't. So those, I would say, are the closest between the Makeup Geek palette, the Vive palette. Ultimately, I'm like, as far as Natasha Denona Bronze, I don't have it, so I don't know. But that was where I was just like, did I need this palette? No. Am I shook to the core at this look that I got today and how easy it was? Absolutely. I think it's beautiful. I think everything applied nicely. I'm going to give you guys one more zoom. Leave any questions in the chat now for after I get done doing this if you guys need me to answer anything. But I'm like, everything looks fucking bomb. You know what? Where's my phone at? Let me do this little, let's see if you're going to be able to see any of the reflex. Probably not because I have a lot of lights going on in my room right now. But it's like you see the glitter. That's where it's like, I feel like that's the most beautiful thing about the Artist Couture Metallics is it has that just glitter reflect. I'm moving back so my lights aren't so bright, but then I get out of focus. The beauty of lives, everybody. Every time I zoom, it buffers, guys. Apologize for that. Okay. So I'm going to see... Where you going, sis? It's every time I zoom, it glitches. Oh, let's see. I'm seeing what you guys are saying in the chat. April, for real. I wish Makeup Geek was sold at Target. I've only ever seen them at one Target, and then I haven't seen them ever since. Look at this stash. I gotta get this waxed. It is so dark right now. You probably didn't even notice that until I pointed it out, but I noticed it. I want to get chocolate wasted. I just want to get wasted. Yo, these are bomb. Are they as good as those Bacardi things, though? I don't know about that. For real, Makeup Geek shadows are so easy to use and blend. I could not agree more. And the reason that I say that is because I reach for Makeup Geek when I do other people's makeup every single time. I feel like they have the undertones so mastered to be so flattering and so wearable. And then it's, I don't know, it's just, I love the concept. I love the design. I love just everything about it. I love how user-friendly they are. And there is just a blend about them that it's just, it's almost like what I say about Melt. I'm like, you could just look at it and be like, oh, that's Makeup Geek. It's just such a particular undertone and blend. It's just a thing. I don't know. I cannot recommend Makeup Geek enough. I think they're fantastic. So, let's give you guys my summary thoughts on the Supreme Bronze. I'll start off by saying I am so much more impressed with this. Granted, I've only used this twice now. I am way more impressed with this than I have been with the Caliente, than I have been with the Ethereal Bloom, and also the Club Daddy. Club Daddy was bearable, but those other two, like these small palettes, were hot garbage. I figured out yesterday, remember how we were talking about the Buxom palette, the new one that's coming out? It looks like the Artist Couture, it's like the Maven palette or something. That's like a very similar color story. Anyways, I just got totally sidetracked. So I was a little discouraged going from a palette that I loved more than anything to those. But now that this came out, I'm like, oh, Artist Couture is back, baby. So let me put these two side by side. Do you need both of them? I do feel that these are both different enough from one another where you're okay if you get both. Because I think that you could use these together especially. But it's like, this palette here, the Supreme Nudes, I feel like he perfectly named them. Like, this is more nude. This is more bronze, but you get like a dash of coolness in it. And I love that you could pull this coolness into this. I feel like these are excellent like sister palettes. Maybe like cousins. I love the idea that I could use these all together. Because I think that especially like this orange would go so beautifully with this like this color story down here. I think I would have loved to have seen more shades like this in this palette. But I'm not mad at it because I still think that this, it's like, if I were to pick between the two, I think I would go with this one because I think I just get more. And it's that warm and cool tone factor that is why I say that I feel like I get more with this one. The only thing that's missing for me in this palette is that fucking green. That green is one of my favorite things about this palette. If, like, Supreme and Opulence were in this palette, it would be pure perfection. Like, I would have been okay with taking out one of these golds and putting in a green or putting in that gold shade. Oh, it would have been everything. But I think that this is a great palette. I really like the quality of the packaging. If you're familiar with the Supreme Nudes, it's literally, like, the same. Everything feels the same. The textures feel the same. I just don't have anything in the new palette that's like this shade right here. So this one's still like a standalone. But if you're familiar with Supreme, Lavish, Bronziana, the metallics are the same. The mattes are the same. Like some of them have that like gritty sort of a texture. It's consistent. It's consistent with the original. So therefore, I'm glad that I do have both of them. So that's my thoughts on the Supreme Bronze and the Supreme Nude and everything else that we talked about today. So I hope this was helpful. That's the main thing. I do have everything linked down below. All the palettes that I mentioned, I'll link those as well. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you guys like these videos, it really does help when you give it a thumbs up or a down. That way I know what you guys like to see. If you have any other requests, any other videos, I've got Odin's Eye coming up. I need to do Alien Cosmetics, House of Sillage. I've got more shit to review for you guys than I know what to do with. So, if you guys enjoyed yourselves today, subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Okay, bye!